Good evening, everyone. Mike Palmer from Know Your Rights Group and Success Coaching International with another very important live video update tonight. Now, obviously, the huge news of this week is all about Trump being sworn in. There's also a number of other important events that I want to cover tonight. But just before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. That a bunch of people putting the same posts again and again on YouTube. So a very important message for those of you who watch these live video updates on YouTube. Please understand we have 15,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel, but we have 138,000 followers on Facebook. So with all due respect, I'm sure you can understand where we're going to be putting our focus. Now, yes, we understand, we know that the horizontal view would suit the YouTube platform better. But again, with 10 times more followers on Facebook than YouTube, we go live on Facebook, which does use that vertical platform, and then we upload to YouTube afterwards. Also, the links to everything that we discuss on these video updates are placed by one of our staff in the comment section on the Facebook video. There is simply no way to just cut and paste those links over to YouTube. So if someone out there has the time and the inclination to manually post each of them, then by all means, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, just take 30 seconds like everybody else to look for the links, because I put the stories and the titles to everything up on the screen. Just do a search for that online. Now, also, sorry, no, we have no idea to how to put timestamps or what timestamps even are on a YouTube video when it goes live on Facebook. So again, if someone out there knows how to do that and would like to volunteer their services to assist with that, then please, by all means, feel free to reach out to us and assist us with that. So other than that, yes, we see all your comments on YouTube, but essentially there's not much we can do about them. So there is no point putting the same comments again and again and again on each new video that we post. Either watch the videos live on Facebook where everything is available to you, or alternatively, by all means, please help us grow our YouTube channel so that we reach the same number of subscribers as we have on Facebook, and we will then happily go live on YouTube rather than Facebook and tailor our videos to the YouTube platform. But until then, we are going to continue doing our videos in the same way as we have been for the past 4 years, which is live on Facebook. Okay, so with that hopefully sorted now once and for all, let's get stuck into tonight's stories. So, as I said, the huge news, as Trump would say, has been his inauguration, but more importantly, the significant things that he has done since taking office just a few days ago. Now, I did obviously cover a lot of this on Tuesday night's radio show, but I know not everybody listens to that show, although they definitely really should start, because we cover a lot of information on those radio shows. And B, some of those steps that he's taken are so significant that they are definitely worth repeating. So again, this is the title for the article. Anyone wants to look it up wherever they may be on whatever platform. Otherwise, I'm going to read these out just so that you've got an understanding. So it says, Trump signs multiple orders and memos in front of supporters. Trump signed multiple orders and memorandums and directives in front of a cheering crowd following his parade speech. Can you imagine Biden doing this? He joked. Here's what he signed. Firstly, halting 78 Biden-era executive actions. 2, a regulatory freeze preventing bureaucrats from issuing regulations until the Trump administration has full control of the government. 3, a freeze on all federal hiring except for military and a few other essential areas. And the one that's important to note, of course, is no new hiring for the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service in the US. Now, we are working on some FOIs to the IRS to get evidence of that connection between the IRS and the ATO. So when Trump does inevitably shut down the IRS, there'll be huge ramifications for us here in Australia. Number 4, a requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work. Number 5, a directive to every department and agency to address the cost of living crisis. Number 6, withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty. And that's huge, and that's something I'm going to talk about a little bit later more. Number 7, a government order restoring freedom of speech and preventing censorship of free speech. I mean, that is massive just in and of itself. Number 8, ending weaponization of government. So there's some major announcement, and all of that was done just on day one. He also announced a state of emergency at the border between the US and Mexico due to the change in the immigration policies. In addition to that, he's also declared that the US will now only recognize 2 genders. So fantastic to see common sense finally coming into play in the political arena. He's also ordered that all DEI employment, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, okay, is to cease. And in fact, he even went as far as to order that all federal DEI schemes were to be shut down and any DEI employees were to be put on immediate paid leave. So he is putting a clear and concise end to this whole ridiculous woke agenda, and that is fantastic to see. And not only that, but he is standing by his commitment, which he said a number of times, to create a society that is colourblind and merit-based. Not just because you're in some little minority, because you have a merit-based argument, then you will be recognised. Now, he's also taken the huge step towards resolving the energy crisis in the US rather than the claimed climate crisis by changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Now, again, I mentioned this on Tuesday night's radio show. That podcast has been uploaded now. If anyone missed that show, it was, of course, the first live show for the year. So if you are a podcast member, you can go and listen to that podcast now. And if not, I urge you to join up as a podcast member and do listen to it because we covered a ton of information. But it was actually my brother, of all people, who pointed out to me just today that the reason that Trump made that change was because Biden recently issued 2 presidential memorandums banning offshore drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. But now, of course, given that it's no longer known as the Gulf of Mexico, but instead the Gulf of America, then that ban no longer applies. I mean, another brilliant move by Trump. So he's certainly been making some very various waves already in just his first few days in office. So long may it continue, and please may much of it positively impact us here in Australia, because, you know, Lord knows we need all the help we can get here right now. One of the other steps, major steps that Trump's already taken is to withdraw the US from the World Health Organization. Again, another massive step. Now, unfortunately, we just don't have anyone here in Australia with the balls to do that. I mean, it's as plain as simple as that. So sadly, we are stuck with the important task of putting in as many submissions as possible to stop the amendments being made to the international health regulations, which I mentioned on my last video update. Now, in case you missed that, okay, again, this is what you need to be searching for. There will be a link in the comments, but if you're watching this on YouTube, just do a search for this. It will come up very easily. It's 2024 amendments to the International Health Regulations 2005. And in particular, we're talking about the feedback to the Joint Standing Committee on Treaties. So again, I know I read this out last week, but this is really important, guys. So I'm just going to whip through it again quickly. We have a number of concerns about what the WHO is proposing under the 2024 amendments to the International Health Regulations 2005. The most concerning can be summarized into 5 topics. Choice, the right to make choices for you and your family. Censorship, the right to be able to speak freely and receive information. Surveillance, in the form of tracking and tracing. Now, that's another one I'm about to come back to. Control. Countries will have to implement the changes into their domestic legislation. Why on earth do we want some foreign body controlling our policy here in Australia. And number 5, cost, both financial and social. The Joint Standing Committee on Treaties, JSCT, is an Australian government committee that has asked for your feedback on the 2024 IHRs. It's easy, and we encourage you to give feedback, which closes on the 23rd of January. That is today, people. Now, they are the steps, okay? If you go to that page, they break it down into step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. They give you all the links. They give you sample submissions, okay? They make it as easy as possible for you to get those submissions in. Now, as I said, the key point with that, okay, is that submission date, okay? That closing date is today. So if you haven't already done so, please find a way to set aside just a little bit of time as this video ends, and please make sure that you get those submissions in, and we put a stop to those amendments being made to those international health regulations. Now, obviously, you know, the primary reason that we need to do that is because of the obvious, you know, medical implications of those amendments being made, which again is something that the mainstream media are still clearly pushing for. Now, I've mentioned on the last couple of video updates that I've done, you know, the links that the media are going to, just to try and keep people living in fear with some, you know, type of new pandemic. And I've read out a bunch of headlines. As I said, I haven't gone into all of the stories and all the rubbish. I've gone through some of those headlines on the last few videos. Again, in just the last week, I'm going to show you the headlines that have come across my desk in just the last week. This is what they're still pushing for. Key change to the skin that's a little known sign of HPMV. Warning issued over newly mutated virus that is exploding in record numbers. New fears emerged after threat of mystery virus HMPV, which is on the rise globally. Okay, all these wonderful, big, emotive headlines. Ultimate 10-step quademic survival guide as fears of mystery virus spike. I mean, this is the stuff that the mainstream media are now putting out every single day. Oh, what's this one? Oh, bleeding organ failure, new outbreak of horror virus detected. Okay, there is literally a new piece of rubbish fear-mongering story coming out every single day. That is why we need to put a stop to those amendments to those international health regulations, so they don't use this rubbish as an excuse to bring in these new draconian measures. Now, in addition, okay, to all of the obvious medical I'm having trouble with that word tonight. The medical implications of those amendments being made. The other serious problem is the surveillance and tracking, and also the population control that was also mentioned with those amendments. So we simply cannot let that pass. Now, speaking of some of those control issues, I'm going to show you in a moment what is already happening right here, right now in Australia, even before any type of specific tracking and tracing legislation has been brought in. Now, this is going on right now in Queensland. So if you are in Queensland, especially if you are in this area, okay, I urge you to go and read this article ASAP. And if you are anywhere else in Australia, please find the time to go and read this article, because they're starting it there, they're trialing it there, but I guarantee you it will be taken on board by other councils around the country at some point in time. So this is the article for those who want to look it up. Logan City Council launches AI tracking for CCTV feed monitored by police. A council south of Brisbane has begun using artificial intelligence software linked to CCTV to track crime in a move dubbed mass surveillance by a privacy advocate. Logan City Council has about 1,400 cameras across its suburbs, with the images fed into a main control room manned by council staff and police. Since when were the police employed to sit there in a private council office? Interesting. Mayor John Raven said the new AI software allows staff and police to search for terms like car number plates or people wearing backpacks and immediately see results. I wonder what other terms they could be looking for. People with tattoos, people with piercings, people wearing hoodies. I mean, it's so easy to discriminate against groups of people with this technology. No other council in Queensland has police in their camera monitoring room 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. He said the new software worked by searching for certain descriptions and then condensing all relevant footage from a 24-hour period into 2 to 5 minute clips. If there was a white Holden in a certain area at a certain time, they can actually track its movements throughout the city, he said. While the AI doesn't identify faces yet, Mr. Raven said it could identify movement and other personal descriptions like types of clothing. Well, if it can do that, how long do you honestly think it's going to be before it also implements facial recognition? Come on, people. Okay. Then there's the little subheading. Okay. Privacy concerns raised. You think? Queensland Council of Civil Liberties President Michael Cope said there were still questions about how the data was being collected, what it was being used for, and how long it would be kept. In our view, mass surveillance of people conducting their ordinary lawful business is not justified by finding people dropping litter. There's no evidence that CCTV actually reduces crime. The evidence is that it just moves the criminals further down the street somewhere. Even if you feel that this sort of mass surveillance system is justified, the critical question is what data is being collected and what is it being used for. The fact that they can't say how long they're keeping the data for is of significant concern for us because there should be clear rules about this. The reality is that they will never, ever, ever get rid of the data. They'll keep it, and as AI advances and grows, they'll keep feeding it in, and they will soon be able to track everybody's movements down to a pinpoint. People who are going about their lawful ordinary business are entitled to know whether or not they're the subject of surveillance, Mr. Cope said. If the council wishes to engage in covert surveillance, the law should require them to get a warrant from a magistrate, just as the police have to get warrants. On average, now get this, okay, this is going to let you know how real this is right now. On average, police have used the CCTV network about 1,000 times a month to help in inquiries, the council has said. That's right here, right now, the first council to be doing it at the cutting edge when it's all just starting. They're already using it 1,000 times a month. What do you think it's going to be like in another 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? If we don't shut this down right now, it is going to be, it is going to explode, and it is going to be worse than anything, George Orwell wrote about in 1984. I'm telling you that right now. So please get onto this now. Be aware of this. And as always, if you're in that area, be sure to write to your members of parliament, to your councillors, and tell them that you do not accept this in any way, shape, or form. Now, right now is just the beginning. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get more pervasive. And in fact, as the next article I'm about to show you, it's actually already happening at a whole other level. So, for those of you who've been following with the cashless agenda, here is the next major breakthrough that they've just had. Now, we have talked about this in passing before. There have been little trials, but this one, it is a whole new level. Major change to cashless spending to change the way Aussies shop forever. New cashless technology that tracks shoppers as they move around a store is the latest upgrade to payment methods being embraced by Aussie businesses. The technology powered by artificial intelligence, AI, was first launched by financial giant MasterCard at the Australian Open in Melbourne. Fans and visitors can purchase items at pop-up stores across the Melbourne Park precinct by tapping their credit card on an electronic payment scanner. Shoppers can then enter the store, buy their items, and simply walk out. Cameras powered by spatial artificial intelligence platform AIFI allows the devices to trace the movements of customers inside. The cameras track what items shoppers bought and how much each item costs. And I'm sure they never get that wrong at all, do they? Aussies are then charged for the total amount once they leave the store and can choose to get a receipt by scanning a QR code. More input into the system. I mean, it just gets worse. Head of Customer Solutions Centre at MasterCard Australia, Surin Fernando, said the technology will provide a more efficient shopping experience. Really? How much more efficient can it be? I mean, we're not talking about going into Coles or Woolworths. We're talking about going, to the Australian Open. What are you going to get? A pie and a can of Coke and a thing of chips? You've got to tap your card when you walk in anyway, so why not just walk in, grab the things, scan them, and then tap the card, or preferably pay in cash? How much more convenient is it really? But they love to sell you on this convenience factor. I've said it a million times in our live events. Convenience and security. That is what will ultimately lead everyone to having the chips in their arms, because that's how they're going to sell it. And this is another step closer to that. It's fully automated through the camera, Mr. Fernando told Yahoo News. The technology was developed with safety and security in mind. Yeah, safety and security for MasterCard employees who are raking in the big bucks. To improve autonomous shopping in a privacy-compliant way. How on earth can tracking your every move in an entire precinct be a privacy-compliant way? I mean, someone please explain that to me. Mr. Fernando said retailers, including convenience stores and petrol stations, are set to embrace the new technology, which could also be integrated into large stadiums. AIFI's camera-led solution eliminates the need for expensive shelf sensors that can easily be adapted to various store sizes and formats, he said. The payment method can't be used by those who pay with cash. Non-cash payments accounting for 300 billion across the Australian economy in 2023. So if you ever needed another reason to keep paying with cash at every single opportunity, there it is. Unless, of course, you want every single shopping move tracked and traced. I mean, this is what it's come down to, people. So, as always, vote with your feet, vote with your wallet, open it up, pull out cash, use it at every opportunity, and do not buy into these systems, and do not let them get away with this, because if we don't stop it now and they just start rolling it out, it's very, very quickly going to be too late. All right, now the final article that I want to cover tonight addresses yet another agenda that the powers that be have been pushing so hard for, especially over the last few years, and that, of course, is for everyone to rush out and go and buy an electric vehicle. Now, I've discussed the plethora of issues with EVs, especially on these video updates last year, and it does seem like some people are finally starting to wake up to the problems, and they're now saying no to these EVs. So this is a very interesting article, and again, if you have an EV, if you're thinking of getting an EV, if you know someone who's got an EV, I urge you to make sure you read this article. People just don't want battery electric cars. 25-year-old exposes brutal EV truth. The industry would have you believe it's going gangbusters, but according to Caleb Bond, there's a whole lot more to the EV story. Electric vehicle targets are in tatters. Remember just a few years ago when Labor, prior to winning the 2022 federal election, calculated its net zero targets on the basis that EVs would make up 89% of new car sales by 2030. The Federal Transport Department later revised that down to just 27%. And yet the industry would have you believe it's going gangbusters. See, the alleged growth of EV sales claimed by Row Motion isn't just for battery electric vehicles, what you would typically call an EV. They've also thrown in plug-in hybrids, PHEVs, which still actually have combustion engines, but with the ability to charge a battery at the wall. And funnily enough, surprise, surprise, the data doesn't break down the sales of full EVs compared to PHEVs, except for China, where its 40% growth in electric vehicle sales was actually made up of just a 19% rise in battery-only cars and a massive 81% jump in PHEVs. So it's not proper electric vehicles that are popular, it's actually hybrids. People just don't want battery electric cars. They're not opposed to using electric technology to make their cars more efficient, hence the popularity of hybrids, but for a multitude of reasons, they prefer the security and familiarity of an internal combustion engine. And then if you scroll down that article a bit further, there's a little, you can cast your vote, and it says there, would you buy an electric vehicle? Yes, they are the future, 15%. Maybe if there were government incentives, 10%. No way, not interested, 75%. Okay, so there's those survey results. 75% of people have woken up and said, no, I am not interested in electric vehicles. So it's good to see people waking up. But listen, by all means, it's horses for courses. So if you specifically like a particular electric vehicle because it can personally provide you with some particular benefit, then great, by all means, go out and buy one. But if you're doing it just because you think, oh, well, everybody else is doing it, if you think you're doing it because you're going to somehow save the planet, or if you think you're actually going to be able to sell it at any point in time in the future for anything like what you've paid for it, then I would urge you to seriously think again. Okay, finally, as I always do at the end of these videos, I'm going to finish off with the latest feedback from one of our members, as well as going through, of course, some more really great memes to get people thinking about what's actually going on at the moment. So this was actually a comment posted on YouTube. So as I said, we do see the comments. We don't always get a chance to respond to them, but this is a comment that was posted on YouTube from one of our members recently, Glenn, who said this: "Thanks, Mike. Always great to get an update. I was introduced to the deepest rabbit hole with the Aussie Speeding Fines book so many years ago now. It was a game changer for me back then, and I took everything to court every single time after that. Wow, what an adventure that all was. Cheerings, G." So again, there's more evidence that this Aussie Speeding Fines book is going to be a game changer for you. It is a brilliant place for people who are newbies, who are just beginning to wake up. This is the easiest, simplest place to get started. You grab that book, you go to the 3-step process. In Chapter 3, you simply cut and paste your details into the 25 pro forma letters that are all included with that book to challenge any unjust and unlawful fine. It's a very, very simple process to follow. These guys are now in their 18th year of operation, so you know their information works. And as Glenn said there, once you go down the rabbit hole, you'll never come out the same way again, and you can start branching off into a whole range of different areas that might be of interest to you. So a couple of memes to finish off with. I think this one is perfect given what's just happened this week and what I just read out before. So there's the little girl asking her mum, why is everybody talking about January 20th? Well, it's the day we go back to 2 genders and some sanity, honey. So thankfully that already seems to be happening, at least in the US. And as I said, hopefully some of that will filter down to us here in Oz as well. Now, I've been talking about these AI cameras, and they're being set up in all sorts of places. And here's a fantastic story. I believe it's somewhere in the UK or Europe, where a whole bunch of these AI cameras were hacked and taken down within a very, very short period, just a few hours after they actually went up. So people realise the problems with them. They're not putting up with them over there. Again, we never, condone any form of violence. That's not what I'm saying. But what the point I'm making is that people realise the issues with these, and they're not standing for it. They're not allowing it to continue. So, yes, I'm just going to leave this one up here, and you can draw your own conclusions. You can read that for yourself. You can see the picture, and you can have a good chuckle. Yes, the new word that I've learned for today. So this one I came across my desk last night. Actually, I like this one. I learned a new word today: philanthropath. A philanthropath is a psychopath masquerading as a philanthropist. And there's just an example of one. There's a few of them out there. Yes, and to finish off, we have this. So again, we discussed this on Tuesday night, that Biden's final moments were taken up by pardoning not only his entire family, but a bunch of other corrupt muppets, including, of course, Dr. Fauci. So as it says there, nothing says trust the science quite like a pardon for an innocent man. Okay? If he's done nothing wrong, why does he need a pardon? Okay? It's a really simple question that Biden nor any of his minions seem to be able to answer. Maybe someone out there who's watching this has got a clue. So I'm going to leave things there for tonight. As always, I do urge you to make use of all the resources that are available to you to please get informed, get fired up, and get proactive. As we can see just from the first few videos I've done this year, the powers that be are pushing their various agendas harder than ever. We need to stand firm. We need to stand resolute. We need to keep fighting back. We need to keep pushing back. We need to keep taking action. So please make use of everything you can to do that. As always, these videos are completely free to watch on the videos tab on our Facebook page, on our BitChute channel, on our YouTube channel. Our radio shows every second week. This year, again, completely free to listen to. If you miss a show, you want to refresh on a show, or go through any of our other 400 and something past shows, it literally costs less than $5 a week to join up as a podcast member. It is absolutely affordable for everybody out there, and there are a lot of benefits to doing that. So do consider that. Of course, if you want to go above and beyond that, we do, of course, recommend our book, The Essential Step-by-Step Manual for Understanding and Exercising Your Rights. Covers a range of different topics, many that some people out there have never even heard of, things like unidroit and the strawman concept and all the rest of it. So do be sure to grab that. Of course, that Aussie Speeding Fines book for challenging any unjust and unlawful fines. And of course, we do know a lot of people are genuinely struggling financially, so please stop throwing good money after bad at these unsecured loans, your credit cards, your personal loans. They can be easily discharged or written off, whatever you want to call it, with that tried, tested, proven 4-step process from that book. So you can get these individually. Again, there's links in the description. You can get them as part of the combo pack. We do have that tote bag, which I've forgotten to grab again tonight. Sorry, that's included as a little bonus. Don't forget the caps. There is some very, very hot weather going around the entire country, as I understand at the moment. So please make sure you grab one of our caps. Protect your head. It is also a great way to meet like-minded people. They see the logo, they come up, they have a chat, and it's a really good way to connect with others out there that are on the same path as you. Now, we did talk on Tuesday night about the dates for our live events, for our webinars, as well as our in-person live events. You can find the details of those on our seminar page. They haven't been locked in just yet, but we will be announcing them very, very shortly. But if you want to pencil the dates in, they are up there on the seminar page. Otherwise, please do be sure to grab our home study course, which is, of course, a complete recording of one of our 2.5-day live events. There's 17 DVDs, a CD with all the documents we use, 3 custom-made workbooks. There's sections there you can write notes next to every slide for every presentation, and it is a brilliant resource tool that you'll come back to again and again and again, year after year, as you come up with various challenges in life. So there's a link again in the description for that. Otherwise, I'm wishing everybody a very happy Australia Day for Monday. I hope you get to spend some time with family and friends and celebrate what little there is still left that is positive about Australia. There are definitely still some good things. I know the powers that be are trying to erode those as much as possible, but if we keep fighting back, standing our ground, as Trump did in America, we can make Australia great again as well. So go out, celebrate Australia Day, have a fantastic weekend, everybody, and I'll talk to you all again next Thursday night.